So I watch a lot of YouTube, and specifically, I'm watching your videos. Every time you subscribe or comment, I go check out your channels to see what you sound like. And my goal has always been to help you get the best audio that you can. And so today we need to talk about noise. So in my opinion, there's 3 types of noise that every solo content creator needs to be aware of. So in this video, we're going to talk about what those are and what to do about them. But before we get started, I need to give you a warning. Some of the concepts we're going to discuss today, you may have never heard of. And as a result, once I tell you about them, you will never be able to unhear them. So that means that after watching this video, you may never be able to watch your favorite content creator or listen to them the same way ever again. So you've been warned. If you want to blissfully enjoy YouTube for the rest of your life, you can click off of this video right now. But for those of you who want to get better audio in your videos, the first noise that we all know about is environmental noise. I think this is the one that we think of first as content creators because it's the most obvious. It could be aircraft, it could be cars or trucks, it can be animals. Hey buddy, you never bark, do you? Sounds that are generally off camera that we don't want to hear because we don't see them. So with these limited time noises, the best thing we can do is to be mindful of them and to not record critical parts of our video while they are going on. But what happens if there is some continuous noise in your environment that you can't mitigate? Like say, for example, in this clip that I shot a little while back, there was some kind of farm equipment or transformer that was making this constant noise. It's like some kind of farm vehicle that's creating some kind of noise. Well, in that case, you have a couple options. You can probably use some kind of noise reduction plugin that oftentimes is built into your editing software. In my case, I'm using DaVinci Resolve, so it can analyze just the noise part and then bring that down across the entire clip. It's like some kind of farm vehicle that's creating some kind of noise, right? I think it's like a tractor that's just idling or something. Or if it is at some kind of constant frequency, you can do this manually by going to your EQ, finding that frequency, and notching that down. It's like some kind of farm vehicle that's creating some kind of noise, right? I think it's like a tractor that's just idling or something. And side tip, when it comes to EQ, it's always a good practice, at least at a very minimum, to use a low-cut filter or high-pass filter, which are exactly the same thing, and they take out all of the lower-end frequencies that you don't even hear anyway. Now, those noises are obvious, but the next noise that a lot of solo content creators need to be aware of is equipment self-noise. So all of our electronic equipment has some kind of inherent self-noise to it. Your camera, your microphone, your preamp, your cable, all of those things can generate some kind of internal noise within your recordings. And most of the time, equipment self-noise isn't so much of a problem for the everyday content creator because likely the environment that you are filming in is louder than what the self-noise of your equipment is. But user error can sometimes make that self-noise artificially high. And that really breaks down to improper gain staging. So for example, let's take a look at this camera and mic setup, and I will show you exactly how I set the gain levels to get the cleanest audio recording, minimizing self-noise. Okay, so here I have my new DJI Osmo Action 3 and a Rode VideoMic NTG. And I chose these because they each have their own separate gain settings. When you plug an external mic into the DJI Osmo Action 3, you get the ability to increase the gain from 0 to plus 20 dB. And when outputting by the 3.5mm output jack, you can set the gain on the VideoMic NTG by their stepless gain knob on the back. If you didn't know, typically when it comes to audio, your camera is going to be inherently louder than your audio equipment. I mean, that's just the reality, right? The camera's primary function is to capture images, but your audio equipment's primary function is to capture audio. So here's an example of improper gain staging. Setting your camera's gain high and your mic's gain low. And when we do that, this is what that sounds like. Okay, so here's my DJI Rode VideoMic NTG combo setup. The DJI Action 3 is set to a gain of plus 18, and the Rode VideoMic NTG is set to a gain of 2. So you can hear that the camera is trying to make up for that gain, but at the cost of introducing a lot of white noise or hiss. Now what I would do is to first set my camera's gain as low as it can go, and then start by increasing my microphone's gain until I get the desired signal. So here we can see the camera is set to a much lower gain and the mic to a much higher gain, and this is what this exact same combination of camera and mic now sound like. Now we are on the exact same setup, except this time the DJI Action 3 is set to a gain of 0, and the Video Mic NTG is set to a gain of 9. So you should be able to hear how there is significantly less noise when the microphone is doing the bulk of the gain work. So if you think your equipment is making too much noise, first check to make sure that these record settings are optimized to reduce the amount of self-noise from any given piece of equipment. And now I know what you're thinking. Your mic doesn't have any gain settings. So what are you supposed to do then? Well, when it comes to a situation like that where you only have the ability to adjust the gain level in camera, the primary thing that you need to focus on is increasing the signal-to-noise ratio. Basically, when we're doing an audio recording, we are trying to get the sound source to be as loud as it can be and the camera or audio recording equipment to be as quiet as it can be. And so in the case where you only have one gain adjustment and it's in your camera, to get that sound source louder, you can do one of two things. You can speak louder, increasing the sound source volume, which will enable you to lower the gain at your camera, or you can move your microphone as close as you can to the sound source, which will have a similar effect of getting your sound source to be louder without having to raise the gain in your camera. Okay, so now we've taken care of our environment, we've taken care of our equipment. The last component that can generate noise is yourself. And that typically comes in the form of mouth noise. So what is mouth noise? Well, I can probably best describe it this way. Eating peanut butter is probably the best way to exemplify what mouth noise actually sounds like. They're the natural mouth sounds and pops and clicks of your teeth, your saliva, your tongue, your lips, your nasal cavity thumps, all of those things that make us sound human. You know, not like an AI voice. And while normally they're fine qualities to have because we hear them in our everyday speech and conversations, sometimes when it comes to recording audio for video purposes, too much mouth noise can just be too distracting. Unless you are an ASMR channel, I don't want to be able to hear what you had for breakfast when I'm watching your video. So how do we mitigate mouth noise? Well, first of all, we back away from the mic just a little bit so that it doesn't pick up all of the minute details of what is coming out of our mouths. Second, we practice good hygiene, making sure our mouths are clear of food particles and stuff like that. Third, we can take steps to mitigate our own personal mouth noise issues. So if, for example, you suffer from dry mouth, having a glass of water that you can take sips of periodically can help tremendously. In the voiceover world, certain tricks like eating tart apples and or drinking hot tea sometimes have similar effects for a lot of different people. And also before you record, you can actually do physical mouth exercises to try to loosen up the muscles in your mouth and tongue and face in an effort to mitigate some of those mouth noises that you might have. And lastly, as a last-ditch effort, you can use a plugin like a declicker. A declicker is a plugin that will go through your audio and remove things like mouth clicks and other noises that it might hear. Eating peanut butter is probably the best way to exemplify what mouth noise actually sounds like. And while this can be beneficial, my advice is to take it easy on declickers. Unless you're producing professional spoken word audio, it's super easy to go overboard on a declicker and make yourself sound like an AI robot. I mean, truth be told, leaving in some mouth clicks will make you sound much more natural. So just don't eat things like peanut butter or bananas before you start recording your videos. Okay, so hopefully I haven't ruined your YouTube viewing experience for the rest of your life, and now your videos will sound extra good when I go check them out after you leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk again real soon.